Is the so-called good life killing you? Could the fast food and inactivity of your typical day be the key reason for your poor health today? 70% of all deaths are now attributed to lifestyle choices. And thanks to obesity-related health issues, this will be the first generation to live shorter lives than their parents. We all know the solution: move more and eat better. But we also know the power of bad habits. How do you change an entire lifetime of unhealthy choices? You can't do it alone, but there is help. Today, obesity is the #1 health concern in the Western world. Sadly, our unhealthy lifestyle isn't just affecting adults. Obesity and its lifelong health consequences is now the top concern for children. But what hope is there for children if parents are settling for a life of medications, dialysis, angioplasties, and bypasses? CHIP is all about choices. Safe, simple, deliberate lifestyle choices. CHIP gives you the education, motivation, and support structure needed to make smarter choices. CHIP can help you get the healthy life you've dreamed of, kick the old habits of the so-called good life, and help you step confidently into the best life.
Welcome everyone to the show from Athens, from Icaria, from the Nicoya Peninsula, from the Philippines. We have people from all over the world. You can tell me if you think I'm joking about any of those places in the world where we have people joining. I'm Dr. Sal. I am the medical director for LMI and the CHIP program. I want to welcome everyone to the program and tell you that we have 3 individuals today that are joining me that have a very different perspective about the CHIP program. So I'm so glad that the 3 can join, and I will let you, Brenda, start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and about your experience with the CHIP program.
Hi, everybody. Before we get started, I just want to shout out a quick thank you to Tom Kostorich and Live Healthy Appalachia here in Ohio for bringing CHIP to my community. I can guarantee you that if the CHIP program wasn't here, I probably would not be speaking to you today to tell my story. And I also want to throw out I guess I'm extremely grateful for a gentleman who I'm sure is on here somewhere, Dr. Hans Deal, for his passion to help us become better people.
Yes. So tell me how you got involved with CHIP and what your experience has been, the good, the bad, and well, there's no bad. It's all good.
It's all good. My story started back in March of 2012. And I ended up walking into the CHIP program, first class, of course, after I stopped at McDonald's for my very last cheeseburgers, and that's a true story. It was my last cheeseburgers. I walked in the class. I was pretty terrified, mostly because I was afraid that the program would not work. I had done everything else out there and nothing had worked. Weight Watchers, I don't know how many times you lose weight, but they've got a good marketing gig where you get a lot of repeat business. But I'm here to tell you that CHIP does work. But the secret is you have to work a little bit too. Before CHIP, I was somewhere around 300 pounds, and I was on just about every medicine you can think of, including thyroid medicine. I had blood pressure, the cholesterol was high. I was on medicine for GERD, that little purple pill. I was doing Motrin just about every day for arthritis pain. Anxiety medicine, sleep medicine. I was fighting my doctor for cholesterol medicine, and I won that battle. But, I was pretty miserable. My life consisted of being a banker and a mother, single mother. After CHIP, I'm happy to report that I am absolutely on 0 medications, including thyroid medicine. My thyroid responded very well to the CHIP program. And it's been 6 years that I've been off of thyroid medicine. I've lost 120 pounds. I'm still a mom and I'm still a banker, but now I'm also a hiker, a speaker, a writer. As my friend says, I'm an award-winning photographer. I can travel now because I can sit in an airplane comfortably. My life has just exploded after CHIP. It's just been the greatest experience I've ever been through. And I'm so grateful for the CHIP program and all the people that I've met through here.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I mean, to go from being less functional to so much more functional in a short period of time, it really shows you the value of what simple lifestyle behaviors can do for you.
Exactly.
So what do you think the most important thing was that you did that made this change for you?
I did several things. I'm almost ashamed to tell you how many times I watched Forks Over Knives, but it kept me focused in the early going. The other things that I did, the community with CHIP. You build a community. In your classes, you get to know the folks in your classes. And I'm still in touch with quite a few people that were in my very first class where I went through. Right. And I'm also a facilitator now. So I have done a lot of classes, and I'm still in contact with quite a few people from those classes. You build a new world.
This is as what I was mentioning before we started the program, this is my 20th CHIP program that I've been involved in. And practically every single program, at least one of the participants became a facilitator. It's really amazing to see how people will want to get involved once they see the value, because they know that they can spread that love and that value to other people. And it really is it's really such a blessing. So thank you for, your experience and what you've done and what you're doing. And certainly, definitely I'll shout out to Tom also. We have so many great people that we've worked with over the years. And it really is a blessing to have them all on our program and on our side. We'll bring on Rob next, and if you can come on the screen there, Rob, I'll let you tell your story. Hello, Rob. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining. So tell us about your experience, please.
Well, it started in November of 2018, and went into my doctor's office for a checkup. I'd been having just some breathing difficulties. I thought I might have bronchitis or something. And of course, you go into your doctor's office, and the first thing they do is put you on a scale, and realize, oh my gosh, I weigh 311 pounds. And wow. I was shocked. And as I sat in her office, of course, then the next thing they do is they take your blood pressure. And suddenly the nurse that was taking it had this very concerned look on her face, ran out, and my physician came in and said, I'm going to give you some medication. If I can't get your blood pressure down, I'm going to send you to the hospital because I think you're going to have a stroke. Of course, she did a blood workup, came back, high cholesterol, pre-diabetic, numbers, glucose levels, all those things were just way in the abnormal range. And she said, well, we have a couple options. One is statins and blood pressure medication and other things, or there's a CHIP program that's going to start in about a week. And I know you know about it, and why don't you go ahead and just try it and see how that works. And my facilitator was Brenda, that you heard just before me. And
right.
Again, this idea of community that was built, the folks I went through the program with, and Brenda can tell you too, I'm a foodie. I love to cook. And I had a certain way of cooking before the CHIP program. And that all changed. And I'm pleased to say that at the end of the program, and then 2 years later now, I've lost over 125 pounds.
Wow.
All my numbers are in the normal range. I take no medication. Completely changed the way I cook. I still love to cook, but pretty much all, I've been vegan ever since, and that's worked for me. And I've been able to maintain and become much more active. We're kind of down here in the beautiful hills of southeastern Ohio, lots of hiking and biking. We've got trails to run and just to enjoy the outdoors. And I remember a couple things that really stood out for me in the class. One was and it was a little thing. It was, when you go to the grocery store, park a little further away.
Right.
And walk. And if you come to a building that has an elevator, take the stairs.
Right.
And it was those little things that got me sort of motivated to begin to do those things. And after a while, I went from, let's say, 1,000 or 2,000 steps a day, then 10,000, then 20,000. Then you start building up, and suddenly you're walking everywhere.
Right. That's amazing. And that, again, in a short period of time, you changed your life around so dramatically and became so much more functional. So how do you spread that love to other people now?
Well, it's funny. Anytime anybody asks me, of course, the community you live in, they see the change
Right.
physically. There was a huge physical change, and I share that knowledge. And since I've gone through the CHIP program, at least 5 other people that I've talked to have gone through it, just because of the conversation I've had with them, and they've seen the dramatic results, and they too have gone through the program. And it's a good way to get the word out, just word of mouth to friends, family members, let them know what worked, and it wasn't easy, nothing like this ever is,
Right.
but when people see the results and hear the story of, especially on the medical side, where if I'm not on any medications, in my 60s now, and
Right.
feeling like I have the energy when I was 30.
And you're a reverend,
Yes.
so you lead a congregation.
Yes.
How does that translate your life with CHIP, through CHIP, translate into your congregation, if you will?
Well, it's interesting. I've often talked about the connection we have between mind, body, and spirit, and part of, I think, being involved in CHIP, there's a great part of the program that talks about forgiveness. There's also the idea that you're not in this alone. We are, we do this as a community. I had lots of support and encouragement from folks in my congregation who saw the value in this, not only for myself as their pastor, but for themselves. And we've been able to translate that into things like our church potlucks feature lots of vegan dishes now, where before I don't think you would have found one vegan dish, and now we have lots of vegan dishes that show up at our church potlucks.
The messages that you both delivered as far as the group mentality and the support that you get from the group itself is really important, because as you just mentioned, Rob, you don't do this alone, and you really need people behind you to support you, because it's a major lifestyle change. And thankfully you had Brenda as your facilitator, who was already involved in the program and really helped you on your way. But the picture transitions for both of you have been remarkable. Maybe Daryl can just bring them both up there again on the screen for a second and let everyone look at the differences. Look at that. That's amazing. What a transition. Incredible. Absolutely amazing. You look good in that tuxedo though, Reverend.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Very good. Well, I want to bring up Nancy next. Nancy also has an incredible story. Nancy's actually from my neck of the woods. So Nancy, can you come join us? How you doing?
Hi, Dr. Sal. I figure when I walked into the CHIP class in January of 2016, I was 58 years old and a 50-year career dieter. I was overweight as a kid. I was fat. Then I get a little skinny. Then I get fatter again. And this yo-yo continued for about 50 years. By the time I got the CHIP, I weighed 311 pounds, was on 7 different medications, the same list of medications: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and acid reflux and GERD. To say that CHIP changed my life would be an understatement, because I don't think without CHIP I would be here talking, just as Brenda said. When I walked into the CHIP class, Kathy Raynert Randall was our facilitator, and she was just a dynamo of energy, and she's so full of passion for this way of eating. Through those 18 sessions, we watched the CHIP videos. Yeah, and that was taken yesterday on our lanai.
Incredible.
Now,
Beautiful change.
my story also has a part 2. So I'll go through part 1 first, which is
Okay.
all the stuff. And then we'll get into then we'll get into the sad things.
Okay.
My BP was 135/84 with medications. I had high cholesterol. It was running around 200 again with medications. And what kind of prompted me to sign up, I work for the school district of Lee County, and they have a very aggressive wellness program. Heather Parker is the coordinator, and she walks the walk and talks the talk on the CHIP program.
Yep.
One of the neat things the school district does is allow you to sign up for the CHIP program. And not only is it at no cost if you complete the program, you will actually get a wellness bonus for completing the program.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of went with the mindset, well, gee, nothing else has worked. And that's everything. You know, you name it, I've tried it. I think I'm still a lifetime Weight Watchers member because I've lost enough weight. Then I gained it back, plus, you know, an extra 25 for good measure.
Okay.
So, you know, the classes, it was the videos, there were cooking lessons and lots of food to sample. One thing that Kathy said that I've always stuck with me, she said, when you first come to class, definitely come hungry. It'll make the food taste better. And, you know, of course, by the end of the class, I was actually looking forward to the food because it did taste good.
Right.
Learning to recook was definitely a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in, you know, meat and potato country.
Right.
Where, you know, we would joke at dinner, you had the 7 starches. You know, you'd have bread, noodles, potatoes, gravy, and corn. That was your vegetable.
Uh-huh.
So one of the things that I've learned since 2016 is you've got to keep healthy food convenient. We have a fully stocked freezer. We make our own frozen meals now. It's kind of like a batch cooking process. My best friends are Ziplocs, masking tape, and a Sharpie. I learned halfway through this program to use the masking tape and Sharpie because I'd pull out something, but I wasn't sure what it was. And boy, was I surprised for dinner or for lunch the next day at school. So we kind of learned that as we went. Like I said, I started at 311 in January of 2016. And my I got down by October of 2018. So what's that, almost 3 years? I was at 170.
Amazing.
Then part 2 of the story. I was still doing all the right CHIP things, but like a lot of Americans, I got seduced by junk food.
Mm-hmm.
It was non-animal products.
Right.
It was, and I always cringe when people say vegan because I can cite in the junk food aisle of the grocery store what counts as vegan.
Right.
And it is not healthy for you. And my weight, my blood pressure, things started climbing. By this past January, I was like, okay, I've got a handle on this. I know what to do. I need to go back to the basics that Chip taught me. Then March hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out not only am I a binge eater, I'm a stress eater.
Mm-hmm.
So the summer was a challenge. My activity level dropped. I couldn't get to the yoga studio like I was doing. I didn't have the structure of going to school every day. I was working remotely. I was worried about, 6 million other things. And my health started to deteriorate. Mm-hmm. By midsummer, my cholesterol had climbed back up again to the low 200s. And then I kind of got an awakening. It's like, okay, Nancy, you've done this how many times in your life? Is this the road you want to go down again? Mm-hmm. Because I was on the way to eating myself up to 311 pounds plus, mm-hmm. doing it the non-animal way.
Right.
So I think I just kind of, when the number hit 230 on the scale, it kind of scared me. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, rewatch Forks Over Knives. Rewatch What the Health. Pull out those old dusty Chip books. Mm-hmm. Still have those stresses and binge, feelings. But if the only thing you can binge on are pre-cooked potatoes and broccoli, it's really just not that exciting.
Well, let me ask Brenda and Reverend Rob, when you have had similar periods where you're falling off the wagon, if you will, what suggestions do you have for everybody that's listening?
I actually have a talk that I do called Chasing the Wagon. Everybody wants to talk about falling off the wagon, but how many people want to talk about getting back on? There are certain things that you can do. And I actually, in the back of my date book, I have a list. And probably the number one thing that I need to do when I fall off the wagon is clean my kitchen.
Yeah.
The kitchen gets bogged down and I don't want to cook, and then I'm doing fast food. Another thing that I tell people to do is get out of the house. I like to go for a walk, but I make sure I don't take any cash or credit card with me because, Wendy's is right around the corner, and the grocery store and the ice cream store. So, there's strategies like that people can put in place. And I tell people to write them down now.
Yeah.
When you're in that stress, you're not going to remember. You're not going to think. So if you write them down and you have this plan in action, it helps.
Right. Rob, what do you suggest?
Well, I love fruit, so I keep a lot of apples and little tangerines and other just fruit in the house because I'm with Nancy. I mean, I go down the snack aisle and I think, oh, veggie straws are good, and and then you read the label and you're like, well, maybe they're not so good. Things like that. So for me, anyway, it's been the fruits that I've just kept on hand, and if I've gotten where I'm either stress eating or feeling hungry for something, I'll usually pull out an apple or an orange, something like that. I remember one of the talks Brenda gave, and she said, you can never go wrong with a potato.
Sour cream, bacon, or
well,
Applebee's and another story.
The potatoes are a Chef AJ story.
Oh, I want to hear that. Well, I just want to mention one other thing. So we oftentimes try to go it alone, and think about the number of people that now through CHIP, and leaders in the field, if you will, like Kathy. You mentioned Kathy Raynard. Kathy is just the dynamo. She's the reason that I actually got involved in CHIP. Tom Castoris, Dr. Deal is probably on the line. There are so many people that you can call, myself included, everybody else that's on this call. When you have fallen off the wagon and you're running after it and trying to get back on it, just remember that in addition to the things that you both just mentioned, you can call someone for help. It's similar to any other situation where you might need help from someone else and say, hey, this is what's happening right now. I'm dealing with the stress of the pandemic. It's really difficult. Can you help me? Just really asking those simple words. I would tell you, if you're in my neighborhood, call me up and I'll go for a walk with you. We'll walk over the bridge. We'll do something other than sit around and eat. It really is a blessing to have so many other people at our fingertips that are ready and able to help. So before we get into the Q&A, what one specific message would you like to leave the individuals with? So I'll start with Rob.
I think that for me, it's just to believe in yourself. I think first and foremost to that if you begin the process, take those first steps, that I think that sort of belief that you can do it, if that it's not impossible. I know when I first went into the CHIP program, you think to yourself, well, this may be something that I cannot do. It will be beyond my, ability to stick with it or anything else, but believe in yourself that you could do it. Yeah,
absolutely. Brenda?
I've toyed all my life with whether I would get a tattoo or not. And because of CHIP and because of something I've learned, if I ever get a tattoo, I'm not saying that I will, but if I do, it's going to say, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, because that's what I've had to do through CHIP. If we go through life living like we always lived before and not making any changes and thinking the same way, then we're going to be frustrated because nothing's going to change. So you've got to change the way you think about things.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Nancy?
And I have implemented some of the tools we've talked about. Happy to say my cholesterol is back down to 157.
Good. Nice.
And my weight's back down to 211. So
great.
It's a long slog. One thing that's helped me is I pretty much plan my meals. I write them down on a piece of paper. This is what I'm doing tomorrow. I plan for a healthy snack rather than start foraging through the refrigerator when I get home from school at 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
After dinner, the kitchen's closed.
There you go.
Except for the water cooler.
Right.
And I pretty much, right after dinner, I'll go brush my teeth, floss, so I have that nice clean feeling. Drink water. Do a puzzle. I've gone for walks. And one thing I've discovered, I'm in a different class through the school district who's very, very supportive of all this, is meditation.
Right.
And I found on YouTube simple 10-minute meditations where you just kind of sit there and mindfully breathe.
Right.
That's helping too, to just kind of break that cycle of I need, I want, I gotta have.
Exactly. Yeah, we're always looking for instant gratification in this society. And we have to realize that, the gratification that you get from making sacrifices, anything good that you are looking to achieve requires some sort of a sacrifice. So really understanding again that the number one priority in your life has got to be health, because all your other priorities go down the drain if your health goes down the drain. So really not giving up on that really is such an important thing. The return on the investment, when I was at Lee, when we did 18, 19 programs, the financial return on the investment was very obvious, but what was always more important was the subjective return on the investment that people got. They live and feel so differently after that.
Right.
And it's such a difference. So
the year before I started CHIP, I went back and calculated the numbers. My medical expenses were over $10,000. I went through CHIP, and the next year they were less than $1,000. So you can get a much better return on investment than that.
Well, and that's obvious. That's the obvious reason why the school system has been so supportive, because, with any self-insured organization, your most expensive asset is the human resource. So really taking care of those people, number one, it's the right thing to do, regardless of the expense.
Right.
Number two, the financial return on the investment for any company is dramatic. So we really have to keep that in mind. Let me see. What does Nancy do when she gets hungry at night? That's from your friend Kathy.
Oh, yeah. She's a good prompter.
Yes, she is.
Like I said, maybe go for a walk, do the meditation. If all else fails, go to bed.
Right. Yes.
It's not going to hurt you to go to bed at 7 o'clock one night.
No, exactly. Well, Dr. Deal says he's so proud of all your fabulous success. So he's shouting out back to the wall. And Sid Nodder says church potlucks are indeed a challenge, which they are. Well, let me ask you this question. So how are you all going to deal with the Christmas and New Year's celebrations?
Well, it's interesting. When I went through CHIP, we went through Thanksgiving and Christmas that year. And I was blessed that the people I celebrated with were very supportive of my choices on both of those holidays. That I stuck to what I want, sort of the lifestyle that I had chosen, and didn't come under any criticism for not eating turkey or not eating a ham or those kinds of things. So I was fortunate. I was very blessed that I had supportive folks who.
Absolutely.
What we did for Thanksgiving this year is, in years past for Thanksgiving, there's a lot of different vegan options for pumpkin pie and whipped cream. I wholeheartely dove into it. What I did this year is I purposely bought, because my husband does not eat this way, bought stuff that had animal products in it, because I knew, I was kind of waffling on the vegan thing, but the animal thing is a hard line in the sand. So I knew I wouldn't eat that. And then I concocted my own pumpkin mousse thing.
Well, I'm chuckling over here because I do believe that humor is a significant part of health. And if you really want to get a chuckle about Thanksgiving celebrations, there's an episode of Raymond where his mother makes a tofu turkey.
Oh.
You will laugh like crazy when you watch. So I always really try to interject some humor into the whole aspect of health because I think it's really important. We have one individual says, how do I navigate following a plant-based diet at home while cooking for a family who does not want to eat that way? What do you think, Brenda?
Oh, I think you just start cooking wonderful food that smells delicious and tastes delicious, and they eventually say, I think I'm going to try that today.
Right, exactly.
Find the right recipes. I mean, if you just feed them salad and a baked potato, they're not going to do it.
Right.
Talk to Pastor Rob. He's got lots of good recipes.
Yeah, let me hear, Rob.
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting. My mom lived with us for a couple of years, and I made a dish one night, and she thought it was pork. And she said, this barbecue is really good. And she goes, it's the best I've tasted. Right. And finally, about halfway through the meal, I said, well, Mom, that's tofu. Right. And she was shocked. She said, I had no idea. And
yeah, that's great.
Well, my mom is actually in the room with me here. And I made a tofu scramble recently at home. And while I was making it, you know, when you just add some turmeric to the tofu, it turns it yellow like scrambled eggs. And she kept looking at it saying, that looks like scrambled eggs to me. And if she tasted it, she realized how good it was. So let me leave you all with the last word, because you've all really shown to the audience and really to the people that are in your own neighborhoods how easy it is to do this. I know it's hard, but I think what's more difficult is having your chest cut open and having bypass surgery, or God forbid, developing a chronic disease that you're going to live with for the rest of your life with multiple medications and a shorter longevity. So leave the audience with one action item that they should do for the next few months to get through the next few months of the pandemic and the holidays. Nancy?
Add more fruits and vegetables to your diet, whether you go full-blown plant-based or not. Keep the meat on the plate. Just like Dr. Deal says, keep pushing it to the side, and if it falls off, that's okay too.
Right. This is a journey. This is definitely a journey, and you can't go from the standard American diet and the standard American lifestyle to be completely plant-based and completely healthy. So realize that it is a journey for sure. Rob?
Well, there's that old Chinese proverb, right? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
Yep.
And I think, you know, if you can just take those first steps, we've often talked in the CHIP class about being on a continuum, right? That you want to keep moving on that continuum. And just begin. Just start.
Start with the first meal.
That's right.
Exactly. Brenda?
I think what I would like to leave everybody with is that, you know, we're all going to fall down. We're all going to have mistakes. We're all going to do bad things. And that's all part of what life is all about.
Right.
So recognizing that if you fall off the wagon, that doesn't mean you have to stay off. We all fall off multiple times. And each time you fall off, you learn the lesson and you get back up and you go right back at it again. So recognize it's okay. And like you said, Rob, get back up and start all over again.
We could just call Rob, Reverend Rob, and we could give him our dietary confession. And absolution, and we can move on from there, right?
I'll give you absolution with a recipe.
There you go. Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to thank you all for not, you know, much more than just being on the program, but really for being such champions for lifestyle and for the CHIP program and for what you've done individually and collectively for everybody that you come in contact with. So thank you so much for being on the program. I want to thank everyone that is on the program as a participant today. Please reach out to any of us if you have any questions about how to get involved. We will certainly help in any way that we can. And I want to wish everyone a blessed holiday and just pray for some normalcy. We'll be celebrating the end of 2020 and celebrating a good year for 2021. So thank you to all of you. And God bless everyone. We'll see you next week. Oh, let me just tell you, next week we have Jennifer Dross on the show. She's going to be talking about how to quickly read food labels to choose healthier foods. And this program, like every other one, is taped, so you can go back in the archives and listen to any of the tapes. So I will wish everyone a good evening. Thank you all for being here. God bless. See you next week.